As the sun slowly climbs higher into the sky, the villages along the Nile grow busier. Farmers work in the fields, fishermen guide their boats across the water, and craftsmen begin their daily work. But there is another place where people gather. During the day, the marketplace. Imagine walking slowly along a dusty path toward a small open market. The air is warm now, but a soft breeze drifts in from the Nile. As you approach, you begin to see small stalls and shaded areas where merchants sit beside their goods. There are no large shops like the ones we know today. Instead, people sit on woven mats or wooden stools, displaying the things they have made or grown. Clay pots are stacked carefully beside one seller. The pots are smooth and round, shaped by hand and baked in hot ovens. Nearby, another merchant displays baskets woven from reeds gathered along the river. These baskets are strong and light. They are used to carry grain, fruit, fish, and many other things. The air carries a mixture of smells: fresh bread, dry reeds, and the faint scent of river water. Some sellers offer vegetables, bundles of onions, garlic tied together with string, beans and lentils stored in clay bowls. Fish caught earlier that morning lie on flat stones. Some are fresh, others have been dried in the sun so they can last longer. People move slowly through the market. They speak calmly as they trade. In many cases, there are no coins exchanged. Instead, people trade items directly. Grain may be traded for pottery. Vegetables may be exchanged for cloth. Fish might be traded for tools. Children wander through the marketplace, sometimes carrying small baskets for their families. They watch the busy scene with curious eyes. Nearby, a man carefully measures grain using a wooden scoop. Another seller arranges small pieces of jewelry, made from colorful stones. The marketplace is not loud or chaotic. It moves at a gentle rhythm, like the slow flow of the Nile. And here, in this simple open space, the daily life of the village quietly connects. Beyond the fields and markets, many people in ancient Egypt worked with their hands to create useful and beautiful objects. These people were craftsmen. Some were potters. A potter begins with soft clay taken from the banks of the Nile. The clay is shaped slowly with steady hands. Sometimes the potter uses a simple spinning wheel. Other times the clay is shaped completely by hand. The pots are then placed in hot ovens where the clay becomes hard and strong. These pots are used in nearly every home. They store grain, water, oil, and food. Other craftsmen work with wood. Carpenters build furniture such as stools, beds, and small tables. Wood was not very common in Egypt, so it was often used carefully. Some wood came from trees along the Nile. Other wood was brought from distant lands by traders. Jewelry makers created beautiful decorations. They used gold, copper, colorful stones, and glass beads. Necklaces and bracelets were worn by many people. Even those with simple lives sometimes owned small pieces of jewelry. Stone carvers also played an important role. They shaped statues of gods and carved detailed images into temple walls. Their work helped tell stories that lasted for thousands of years. Each craftsman practiced their skill for many years. Often, children learned the craft from their parents. The knowledge passed quietly from one generation to the next. Among all the professions in ancient Egypt, one was especially respected: the scribes. Scribes were people who could read and write. This was a rare skill. Most Egyptians could not read or write. But scribes spent many years learning the complex writing system known as hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs were symbols that represented sounds, objects, and ideas. Some looked like animals. Others looked like tools, plants, or simple shapes. Scribes wrote on sheets made from papyrus. Papyrus was created from a plant that grew along the Nile River. Thin strips of the plant were pressed together to form a smooth writing surface. Using small brushes and ink made from soot and minerals, scribes recorded many things. They kept records of grain storage, they wrote letters and official documents. They recorded stories, prayers, and historical events. Scribes often worked for the government or temples. Because of their education, they were respected in society. Young boys who showed talent might be sent to special schools where they practiced writing every day. The work was not easy. Students spent hours copying symbols again and again. but those who succeeded could enjoy comfortable and respected lives. The Nile River was not only a source of water and food, it was also the main road of ancient Egypt. Travel by land across the desert was slow and difficult, but boats could move smoothly along the calm waters of the Nile. Small wooden boats moved up and down the river every day. Some boats carried farmers traveling between villages. Others carried grain, vegetables, or pottery. Large boats sometimes carried heavy stone blocks used for building temples and monuments. Sailors used simple sails made from cloth to catch the wind. When the wind was not strong enough, workers used long poles or oars to guide the boat. The river connected distant towns and cities. Goods could travel long distances along the Nile. Traders sometimes brought items from faraway lands. Precious stones, rare woods, fine fabrics. The river made Egypt feel like one long connected community. Village after village appeared along its banks, and the slow movement of boats was a familiar sight every day. Even in ancient times, people found ways to relax and enjoy themselves. Music was an important part of Egyptian life. Simple instruments were used during festivals and family gatherings. Some instruments looked like small harps, others were drums or rattles. Flutes made from reeds produced soft and gentle sounds. Musicians played during celebrations, religious ceremonies, and sometimes during quiet evenings. Games were also popular. Children played with balls made from cloth or leather. They ran along village paths or played beside the riverbanks. Adults sometimes played board games. One of the most famous games was called Senet. The board had small squares arranged in rows. Players moved pieces across the board based on throws of small sticks or dice. The game was simple but thoughtful. It required patience and strategy. Games like these helped pass the time during quiet evenings. They brought families together after long days of work. Slowly, the sun begins to set. Golden light spreads across the Nile River. The heat of the day fades away. Farmers return from the fields. Fishermen guide their boats back toward the shore. The village becomes calmer. Cooking fires begin to glow softly outside the homes. The smell of evening meals fills the air. Families sit together and share food. Stories are told. Children laugh and listen closely. As darkness spreads across the desert, the sky fills with stars. Without bright city lights, the stars appear incredibly clear. Thousands of tiny lights stretch across the night sky. The Nile reflects the soft glow of the moon. Palm trees sway gently in the cool night breeze. The village grows quieter and quieter. People return to their homes. Some sleep inside. Others climb onto the flat rooftops where the air is cooler. They lie down and look up at the stars. The day has ended, and life beside the Nile rests peacefully once again. For thousands of years, life in ancient Egypt followed this quiet and steady rhythm. The Nile flooded and nourished the land. Farmers planted and harvested their crops. Craftsmen created tools, pottery, and beautiful works of art. Families lived together in small villages beside the river. They worked during the day. They shared stories and music in the evenings. And at night, they rested beneath the wide desert sky. It was a world shaped by nature, patience, and simple daily routines. And even though thousands of years have passed, the Nile still flows through Egypt today, just as it did in those ancient times. Now, as our journey gently comes to an end, imagine the quiet river once more. The moonlight touches the water. The desert air is cool, the villages are still. Ancient Egypt sleeps peacefully beneath the stars. And now, it is time for rest. Good night.